Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and it is again that time of the year, the fall list here, and this is the designer top 10 fragrance list, so stay tuned for that. And if you like top 10 lists, fragrance reviews, clone comparisons, and first impressions, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So fall is a good time for me. I do enjoy fall winter fragrances usually the most. I do like the little bit of heavier, darker fragrances. So of course, as the weather starts to cool down, it really lets me wear those a lot more often. So I do appreciate that. I do like that. Today I have a designer list. So the niche list, I'll probably be releasing that in about a week or so. Some exciting things on that list. I do have some new and exciting fragrances on this list as well, but there's definitely going to be some that you're familiar with. So anyways, I'm going to get right into the list. I'm going to start with the brand new Sauvage Elixir. So a lot of people hyping this one up. A lot of people love this fragrance, and if you are a Sauvage fan, it is definitely one to try out. I even like it better than some of the other Sauvages. So I mean, personally for me, it would be between this and the EDT as the best. I can kind of understand how some people are tired of Sauvage, but this one has a really nice DNA to it. So it does have this really nice fruity opening. You still get a little bit of that sort of ambroxany, metallic-y, fresh feeling in the opening as well that, Sauvage is really well known for, something that I really associate with Sauvage, and something that I felt was missing from the Parfum, which is quite a bit different departure from the Sauvage DNA. Now Elixir brings some of that DNA back, but it also has different things going on. It does have this really nice dry lavender woody dry down as well. So that is something that to me makes it a lot more, more, especially with that fruity opening, that punchy opening. Definitely makes it a little bit better for colder weather. It is quite strong. It is definitely beast mode, as people who've tried the original Sauvage will be familiar with that really strong punchy vibe that it has. This is one personally I'd be a little bit careful spraying, because I find Sauvage can give people a little bit of a headache, myself included, and I definitely did get a little bit of that vibe just trying Elixir out. So, spray at your own risk, but it is a nice one, and I think it's also mass appealing, easy to wear, and it is Sauvage while still being different. So it's worth a try if you like the DNA. If you don't like it, you can get a free sample. Still worth a try. Okay, next on the list, one we're all familiar with, but I still like to this day, Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Specifically the Parfum. I mean, it is kind of a year-round fragrance, but I also find that the Parfum is a little bit thicker, a little bit denser, a little bit darker, a little bit woodier. It still has that nice blue shower gel vibe that Bleu de Chanel is really well known for, but of course this is just a richer, deeper, darker version of it. Now, performance is really good in terms of longevity. Longevity in this 8 to 10 hours. Projection not so great. So it is a Parfum, and a lot of times Parfums do sit a little closer to the skin, and that is definitely the case here. There is some nice projection for about an hour, hour and a half. Then it starts to definitely become a lot more of a skin scent. So you do want to be aware of this one. But this one is still a people pleaser. I've had so many people who just really love this DNA. And you know what? It's nice to have. Very versatile fragrance. Don't need to think about it. And it does smell very pleasant. I find this to be a very relaxing, soothing, calming scent. There's just something about it. And, even to this day, this is probably the bottle that I've owned probably the longest out of anything. And still to this day, it still gives me this nice, very cool, relaxing feel. Do like this one a lot. And it's, of course, worth trying if you like the DNA. And, of course, it is the Bleu de Chanel. So, it's got the style and the class there. Next one, a new one. I do have quite a few from, well, not quite a few, but a few from Dior. And this is from the Prive line. I was very happy to try the actual Tabacular finally. I did try it in the store the other day, wore it a little bit, and really like this one. It is a nice fruity tobacco fragrance. I get how they have the Tabacular, because you do get this in the opening, this really nice colorful fruity vibe with a little bit of tobacco, and this really nice dry tobacco feel, almost a little bit smoky, starts to emerge and definitely starts to become a lot more dominant, but it does have this very nice fruity opening, which makes it a little bit sharp, a little bit punchy, and in my opinion, very, very likable. So it is, you know, I feel like Dior has definitely been doing a lot more, you know, likable fragrance instead of these challenging, risky fragrances lately. And that's fine, especially if they're really good. And this one, to me, is really, really nice. If you like tobacco, if you like these sort of kind of colorful, fruity fragrances, definitely check this one out. I think it's worth a shot. Next one, a really nice, sweet, cinnamon, heavy kind of a date night fragrance, if you want to think of it that way. Wanted by Night. People are familiar with this fragrance, and I do still really, really like this one. You know, it has this beautiful, juicy mandarin opening, very sweet, with a really, really great cinnamon note. Really enjoy this one. The performance beast mode, it does project really, really well. And it is one that I found people do tend to like, maybe just because it's sweet. It is one that I do find, you know, because it is a synthetic fragrance, not necessarily in a bad way, but it can easily become very cloying. So you do want to be a little bit aware of that. You know, are you wearing it indoors? Are you wearing it outdoors? That kind of thing. But because it is so sweet and a little bit synthetic sweetness, it can definitely become a little bit too much if you overspray it. But absolutely gorgeous fragrance. Very good value for the money. And I do like that one as well. Next one. Probably the fragrance that made me like Paco Rabanne in the first place. Paco Rabanne 1 million, and this is the Prive. Now, I know a lot of people love this one. A lot of people say this is the best one. I agree, it is the best of the line. But I also feel like it's one that's kind of slipped off people's radars. Maybe because it's a little bit older. There's other ones to talk about, like Lucky. There's the Parfum now. But 1 million Prive, still amazing fragrance. This is a tobacco fragrance, although I don't get a lot of tobacco from this one. What I get is that kind of apple pie, Oajan kind of a DNA. And to me, I sometimes refer to this as, you know, the designer version of Oajan or Ombre Narguil. It doesn't have any kind of booziness like you would get with Angel Share, for example. It's not overly syrupy, but it does have a really nice, sweet, cinnamony note. It does have a little hint of tobacco, as I mentioned, but I don't really overly think of this as being a tobacco-dominant fragrance by any means. But if you love that sweet apple pie kind of DNA, Prive is an absolute must to try out. So I do highly recommend checking that one out. And I think you can probably find it for a pretty good price these days, so the price value is definitely there. Now the next one, Amazing Martin Margiela. And this is one that doesn't get talked about a lot. I know a lot of people love, you know, By the Fireplace. A lot of people love Jazz Club. I really like By the Fireplace, but it is a little bit thicker, and I think maybe it's still fine in fall, but probably better for winter. But the one I'm talking about now is At the Barber's. If you love those barbershop fragrances, this is, to me, one of the best. I absolutely love it. It really has that very classic feel. Really makes you feel like you're walking into like maybe a 1960s barbershop because it has that very fresh, clean, spicy feel. This is a very nice, fresh, spicy. And, you know, a lot of times these fresher fragrances, you could easily wear this in spring, but it is also quite spicy. There's a very nice, rich spice to this one that it has a really nice punch. It's not like crazy spice, but it does have a very, very fresh, spicy vibe that makes it really, really enjoyable. And of course, you have that whole barbershop vibe going on. You get that kind of almost like, you know, shaving foam kind of a feel, very fresh. But it's fantastic, and I think it's really, really nice for fall, especially, like I said, with the fact that it has those nice spices in the fragrance to really make it very interesting, in my personal opinion. Now, the next one. Unfortunately, I haven't tried out the new one of this, so I can't definitely recommend it, but I'm very disappointed when I went to the store they didn't have the new one. But of course, Ombre Leather. Where else would we be but Ombre Leather? This is one of the best leather fragrances in existence, in my personal opinion. It's so easy to like, it's so easy to wear, and it is a very leather-forward fragrance. Now, as I was mentioning, there is a new Parfum. I haven't been able to try it. Last time I went to go check it out, For some reason, I guess they only had the regular ombre leather, so I was disappointed. Really wanted to try out the Parfum. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's as good or better than this one. I have heard, I think, comparisons to Tuscan leather, so it might be a little bit more leathery than this, but it has this very nice, very high quality leather smell with a little bit of a sweetness that does dry down into a little bit more of a suede type of feel, but really, really great leather fragrance. And you know what? I think this is going to be my scent of the day. Probably the best entry level leather fragrance in my opinion, because it's not particularly challenging. Even people that aren't huge fans of leather, I find that they do enjoy this one. So it's worth checking out. And like I said, also check out the Parfum. Personally, I haven't tried it, which is the main reason why I'm not outright suggesting the Parfum, but I'm hoping it's as good or even better. Of course, I'd like it to be better than this one. Do like this one a lot. Ombre Leather by Tom Ford. So the next one more Dior, of course, and this is another one that I really like, and I think it's best for fall, even though it is a very spicy fragrance. That is Spice Blend, because I find that it's not super potent, it's not super powerful, but it is in the air, but it is a little bit more subtle, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more laid back. Now, people often compare it to like Spice Bomb, which is a lot more in your face. This one is a nice, boozy, high quality, spicy fragrance. To me, the spices have a little bit more depth than Spice Bomb. So while there are certainly similarities, I find that it does have a little bit more character, even though it is a little bit more laid back. So you do have to be aware of that. I love the nice, I think it's bay rum that it has in there. It adds a really, really nice boozy dimension. It's a high quality one. If I was going to buy a private blend or a Prive label, whatever they've changed the name to, from Dior, there's a good chance it would be Spice Blend. I've definitely toyed with the idea of buying this bottle several times. I do really enjoy it. You know, in either case, I might have to get a decant just to have it around. I do really like Spice Blend, and it is a nice, different take on the whole Spice Bomb idea, which of course leads us to the next fragrance, which is Spice Bomb. Now, I have the Extreme. I've many times thought about getting the original, and I think for fall, the original is probably a little bit better. It's not quite as sweet, even though, of course, you can still wear Spice Bomb. It's not quite as sweet. It's not quite as spicy either, but it is, of course, this really great, you know, spicy, sweet DNA that people love even to this day. You know, it is a fragrance that's marketed to men, but a lot of women wear it too because they really, really enjoy that one. And I also really, really enjoy that one. And I even think, like, for me personally, I could own the Extreme and the original because there is, you know, a nice nuanced difference. And it is just such a high quality DNA. And honestly, if I didn't have so much of the Extreme, I'm going to try and wear this a lot more in fall and winter. So maybe I can justify buying the original, but fantastic fragrance all around. Now, next one is one that it may be discontinued. So I don't generally like to recommend discontinued fragrances just because they're hard to find and they might be more expensive. I'm not sure about this one. It might have been, maybe not. Although I heard it might also be coming to the signature line if it was discontinued. I totally forget. But that fragrance is Noir de Noir. Now, this one's a little bit of a hit and miss for some people. I really enjoy it. A lot of people do think it's a little bit feminine. Personally, I don't really care because I do like it. But it's this beautiful, dark rose fragrance. And the rose is not overly pronounced. It does have a rose in it, but it's definitely not really in your face. Now, I know Armaf has a clone of this fragrance. I think it's Club de Nuit Intense Woman. And I've heard it's actually pretty good. Never tried it myself, so I can't really say. But there are, you know, cheaper options available. But in either case, beautiful, dark, chocolatey rose. Now, it's not a really sweet chocolate. It's more of like a truffly, dark, almost borderline bitter kind of a chocolatey fragrance. So it does have that going for it. To me, it's quite unique. It is a very interesting fragrance, and I love it a lot. So I would recommend checking that one out. Now, the last one on the list, another one that I don't quite own, I have the EDP here, which still a great fall choice, But I actually wanted to suggest the one Luminous Night. This one was released a little while ago. I think you can find it cheap on discounts, especially if you like it. But it has this beautiful, beautiful date note that is just this very nice, very sweet, playful kind of a vibe. And now if you've smelled Zoologist Camel, this is another fragrance that has an amazing date note. It also has some animalic vibes to it, but it has this really beautiful, really high quality date note. And a date note very similar to that is what I personally pick up in the one Luminous Night. Beautiful, luxurious, sweet, sensual. It does depart from the EDP quite a bit. So if you're a fan of the EDP, you might actually find you don't like Luminous Night because it's quite different. But in that same vein, I think that's one thing that's really nice about it. It manages to set itself apart. And I know every version of the one is essentially going to be compared to the EDP because, you know, it's so hyped up, it's so loved, it's such a classic fragrance that everything is kind of going to live in the shadow. And I almost feel like they should make another line just so that it's not judged by this standard. And so in some cases you might find, you know, some of the fragrances from the line are judged a little harshly because they may not be as good as this, even though they are still really, really good fragrances. But anyways, the one Luminous Night, very good fragrance, absolutely fantastic, sensual, seductive, also great for dates, and it does have a beautiful date note in it. Performance is also a little bit better than this one. Now, I don't get terrible performance in this. This is maybe a 6-hour fragrance for me. But the Luminous Night does last a little bit longer. So anyways, that's it, man. That is my top 10 fall designer list. Some of these I'm going to be wearing. Some of them are just really good recommendations in my personal opinion. But leave a comment down below. What are some designer fragrances that you're looking forward to wearing? What are some fragrances that you really want to try out? Maybe that are designer fall fragrances? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.